On your mark, Ralph. Tell me when you're ready. The original purpose of this press conference was to talk about the 60th commemoration of the what happened in our city related to the movement. But I think you all know what's happened this morning, and I want to pause to talk about that before we have our partners come up to share some more detail and information about the 60th. It's 4 days before Christmas, and for all purposes, most families are excited about what's to come in 4 days. I think a lot of that would be around anticipation and excitement for their children, being able to wake up early in the morning in their pajamas, to be in a position to open up their gifts, presents, to be able to celebrate and be with their family. But Adriana's family will not necessarily have that excitement. As you know, a bullet entered her home and took her life this morning. I had a chance to speak with her mother this morning as well. She's affectionately known as Minnie. Minnie is a 12-year-old, 30 days shy of her 13th birthday. She would be 13 years old, January 17th. And when you consider 4 days from now, any other child that age excited about technology, gifts, desires will want to be around technology. Minnie's desire for Christmas list, her wish was a pink iPad and some AirPods for her iPhone that she already has. But she won't be able to open either of those gifts. You know, she wasn't in that bed alone. She had two of her friends over. They were probably up playing video games. As late as it was, they were up playing video games, which what friends do, right? Sleep over. But when I was talking to this mother, outside of expressing condolences, my conversation was in question form, and then I spent the time listening to her. But you could feel the grief through the phone. You can feel her pain through the phone, through her tears. You know, I'm usually able to stand before you I'm usually able to stand before you. We talk about crime. We have homicides in our city. But it's different. It's very different when it's an innocent child. I'm usually able to stand up here and have all the strength to push past however I feel about the situation. I guess this one just, it hits differently because it's an innocent child. All places, 2 in the morning, any of you all who have children, 2 in the morning, there's a reasonable, fair expectation that the bed is a very safe place for your child. That no mother expects to enter a room and see her child slumped over with no more life in her. I would expect no mother expects to run into a room and see her child no longer breathing after whatever activities they had that day, whatever the last conversation they shared that day, whatever last meal they had together. Something about that. When you consider the mother's pain, when you consider the pain of her 2 friends that were also in the bed, what they had to live with. When you consider Minnie's brothers, I know she has 2 brothers. They're teenagers as well, older. And now they don't have their younger sister. These tears they're not just sad, they're just anger. It's a feeling of, I want to do something to bring swift justice to this family. It's an open investigation. And it is my position that we will give every available resource to this investigation to bring which person or persons who shot these 17 bullets into this home. Our families and children deserve better. Our families and our children deserve better. So I want to pause before I talk about this commemoration. Rick, I'm going to go out of order. Switch it up a little bit and just take any questions you have on this. There's another topic I need to talk with you about related to the the oncoming inclement weather we're facing. But I do want to pause, take any questions you may have of this. Please remember my statement that, thank you. This is an open investigation, so anything related to that, I'm not at liberty to share with you, and I hope you will actually follow up with Chief Thurman for him to be in a position to give you anything he can related to the investigation.
What do you feel as leader and as mayor of this city? What do you think it is within your power in terms, what you can do to make the city safer, and are you pleased with those efforts?
Yeah, this is a conversation I talk to about a lot of mayors. We talk about our toolbox and the various tools we have to address crime. I think I've stood before you all a couple weeks ago, 5 years now. We talk about enforcement efforts. We talk about prevention efforts. We talk about reentry efforts. Across the country, homicides have increased, not just in Birmingham, but every urban core that exists in our nation. Birmingham is no exception, unfortunately. Birmingham has a history of violence that is not new, unfortunately, as well. Your question speaks to my position as mayor, as a leader of the community. We've given several $1 million in partnership with the health department to address crime through a prevention measure as it relates to those who have been shot and survived. How do you engage those so they don't retaliate? Right? We invested another $1 million in conflict resolution. We equip our officers with additional tools on the investigative front, particularly. And then on the reentry efforts, we try to provide resources for those who are discharged from city, county, state, federal custody, so they don't actually commit and or do the same things that got them there in the first place. No, I'm not pleased. Solving crime is not a one-man band. It's not something the mayor or the police can solve on their own. Something we can prevent on our own as well. Take, for instance, this past week. In the Central City neighborhood, 3 people were shot. That happened actually inside of a home. These were not strangers. They knew each other. It wasn't a robbery. It wasn't a drug deal going wrong. It's just conflict between people who know each other that escalated. I asked myself, was there something I can do to prevent that? 2 guys in a car. Something happens, it escalates. One or the other or both decide to pull out a gun. I asked myself, is something I can do to prevent what happened in that car? I'm not sure any mayor has an answer to what happens in a home or in a private vehicle. We do address the gang issues. We work with our federal partners to address the drugs, whether it's trafficking or the sale of all of those things. But it's never enough. But you still throw every available tool and resource you can at the issue. We have a gun crisis issue in America that mayors are not allowed to unilaterally address on their own. I have my hands tied behind my back by state law, and I have a blindfold on by the non-movement of the federal government. Both of those tiers of government above municipal government have the power to do something about gun laws in America and gun laws in the state of Alabama. And one is choosing to do the opposite, and the other is not doing anything. But I'm not giving more resources to say you have the unilateral power to do everything you can to prevent the sale, access, and ease of guns on our streets, where conflict has not changed, but the access to guns, the access to this type of tool of high-power assault rifles has changed, that allows people to just simply pull triggers. If I had the power, gun laws would be different in Birmingham than anywhere else in the state of Alabama, since it's an actual Birmingham problem. But I don't have home rule, so I'm not given that authority.
Sadly, I know this isn't the only child who's lost their life because of
No.
violence this year.
No.
So how do you protect, as a leader, how do you protect children? How's the community do it?
I think the biggest way we can protect children is first of all, for parents to be on a high alert of what's going on in their children's lives. There's a lot government can do, and there's things government cannot do. But we find ourselves in situations sometimes, and I'm not speaking of the current situation before us. I said this during our Christmas lighting event, that a city is made up of communities. Communities are made up of families. We know today that over 60% of households in Birmingham are run by single-family mothers, single mothers. It's not an excuse for anything. It's a fact. But even with that fact, what we need is for parents to know what's happening in their own home, parents to love their children, parents to provide that intangible of hope for their own children, to speak about decisions their children make. It's the biggest thing we can do. I think another thing we can do, there are children in state custody on 2nd Avenue. I think we can continue to provide resources to those children who are in state custody, so when they actually get out, when they become an adult, their behavior or activities don't escalate and become more criminal. But I think the last thing we can do is to continue to provide resources. So here's what the government has done. We've given money to financial literacy for children. We've given money to provide mental health providers in schools for those same children. We've given money for conflict resolution programs in those same schools for those same children, for them to learn how to solve conflict at an early age. But ultimately, it is a desire that through partnership, not just government and nonprofits and public safety arm of government, not through just churches and faith-based and corporate community and entrepreneurs and small business owners, but families and parents have an outweighed size in what happens in their own home. Anybody else on this? Thank y'all. I want to talk to you about the cold weather precautions. As you know, cold front is approaching the city of Birmingham and the state of Alabama. This has the potential to be dangerous winter weather. This event can possibly start tomorrow, which is Thursday. According to the National Weather Service, they say the stretch of cold weather could prove life-threatening for people and actually pets without adequate shelter and warmth. This freeze may also jeopardize exposed pipes. If you are on Nextdoor or any form of app like that, you probably be getting warnings. Or your HOA director or not from your own insurance provider about protecting your own pipes in your own homes. So what I want to do is just make some public statements. One is encourage the public to stay inside during this cold front. Long-term exposures to bitterly cold temperatures and wind chills could result in hypothermia. I'm happy to say that the city has partnered with Jimmy Hill Mission as well as the BJCC, and we will be opening up a 24-hour warming station to the public beginning 7 p.m. tomorrow, December 22nd through Christmas Day. Again, we will be opening up a 24-hour warming station to the public beginning 7 p.m. tomorrow, December 22nd through Christmas Day. Those needing warm shelter can come to the BJCC South Exhibition Hall. That address is 1962 9th Avenue North. Again, 1962 9th Avenue North. Some additional news: food will be provided at this shelter. We'll also continue to monitor temperatures to determine hours of operation for the days following Christmas. So again, please protect your home and pipes, protect your family, protect your pets, and particularly those who cannot withstand severe cold weather. Please share the information about the 24-hour shelter. Finally, the city will be monitoring roadways, particularly if there is rain on Friday. As a precaution, the Birmingham Department of Transportation will close Airport Road, Meserport Road tomorrow through Monday, between the 31st Street and 33rd Street to prevent vehicles from entering a potentially icy area. Are there any questions in regards to the weather or the 24-hour warming station before we talk about what we're here to actually talk about?
The opening of the BJCC, that seems to be a step above what is normally done.
We actually did it in 17.
Did you? Is that due to the bitter cold, or what is, you know, what prompted that, kind of measure, if you will?
I think over the years, what I have seen is that our partners who actually house our homeless communities in our shelters and emergency spaces do an amazing job of that. And what tends to happen is a lot of people take advantage of those opportunities and some don't. We can't mandate and or force anyone to come off the streets. But when you consider the actual temperature, I think it will be cold enough for people to seek refuge. It will be pretty unbearable out there. With that in mind, what we anticipate is possible overflow or max capacity at these existing shelters. And so this serves as an additional space through partnership, BJCC as well as Jimmy Hill, to make sure if anyone wants to come off the street and they go to a shelter and it's at capacity, that this serves as an overflow. But that's what we do as a community in the city of Birmingham. We come together to protect those, particularly our neighbors who don't have homes or shelter. In weather like this, we need to do everything we can to make sure no one is on the streets. Separate from this, we need to do everything we can to make sure no one is on the streets. Anybody else on this?